I had this conversation with a guy. I'll apply the story and the analogy to the crypto space. And people are watching like exchanges collapse like FTX. And the sad reality is you don't have those options. What you can do is you can get a ledger and you can do Bitcoin self-custody. And the connection to that, to what we're talking about, is if you're not willing to learn how to save your own self-custody, but you're willing to get a driver's license to drive a car, which again is a whole learning experience, you have to go through that, then you deserve to lose everything. Now, I would connect that back to the health side I like to give the tough love. If you can learn to drive a car, if you can learn to get a visa, to live in Thailand, to rent an apartment, to go through all those loops and whistles and holes to get here, then you can figure out your own gut health and figure out your biomarkers. It's a question of, I think people on let's say these biomarkers, when you're saying 150 to what, they just get overwhelmed from the beginning instead of, take it step by step, bits by bits, and at least start to learn. Whether it's 1 or 2 or 3, if you can learn 2 biomarkers, and this is one of your sayings, like that 1% per day per year, how you're going to, sorry, was it?
Exactly. Yeah. It's the one thing principle, like if you try to get 1% better every day, just 1%. So tiny increments. Over a year, you'll be 38 times better. So it's incredible what compound interest does, right? Mm-hmm. And we apply that in our finances. Why aren't we applying that in our own learning? And one thing I want to say, Brendan, is this stuff is complicated. And you know why it's complicated? Because it's individual. So because it's individual, it deserves the attention of understanding, right? And it deserves the attention of learning. And now these things, you can learn from like YouTube, you can learn from books, you can go on courses, you can do all of this. But as you said, maybe just focus on one tiny thing. And when I was describing how we run our program, do you remember what I said? We start with basic nutrition, then we go into a bit more detail on nutrition, then we go to gut health, then we go a bit more into gut health, then we go into stress, then we go into a bit more into sleep. I told you right at the end, biomarkers. We never start with biomarkers.
Yeah, it's too detailed.
Because it's too detailed. Why are you going into the details when you haven't got the basics correct? So as you know, and the last time I spoke, I explained, my background is engineering and architecture. When we design a building, we start with the frame. We don't go, what color is the wall and what color is the light switch and where are the plugs positioned? We start with the framework. And so that's what we need to do with health. We need to look at what are the basics. Now, again, too many people are like, I take an omega-3 supplement. I'm like, yeah, great. But look what else you're taking.
And also, where does it come from?
Exactly. And what level of, if you're eating McDonald's every day, I'm sorry, very high in omega-6 inflammatory oils, no amount of like little omega-3 is really going to help you against that. So you've got to get the basics right. And too many people, and from an American kind of educational system, too many people are majoring in minors in health. So they're focusing, putting so much attention on these minor details, and they're minoring in the majors. They're focused like on these tiny, tiny little things, and they're missing the big picture. Sunlight, sleep, nutrition, having fun, sleeping and feeling restful. Like often, here's the thing, I'm a bit of a minimalist. It's not about necessarily doing more and adding things in. Sometimes it's about stripping back so you've got space to add these things in. So yeah, I think we need to unlearn before we learn.
If you enjoyed this content, we're doing 5 clips like this a week. If you want to watch the full podcast, click here.